Alderwoman Cara used to sit on the board of the St. Louis Development Corporation until she resigned in protest over a lack of transparency there. Now she's running for mayor, and she joins us on the record. Good to have you back with us. We mentioned at the start of the break, before the break there, that there's this new whistleblower lawsuit. You've seen it. What do you make of it? What's your instant reaction to it?
Oh, my reaction is, look, this is really serious stuff. The allegations put forward in this lawsuit are extremely worrisome, and they really point to a lack of transparency, a lack of real adherence, or even a complete disdain for compliance of federal laws.
SLDC has great potential. I don't think anyone would deny that. There's a lot of important work that it can do and that it has done over the years.
Not only has potential, it occupies a very important role for the city, for the region. I mean, it is charged with driving economic activity for the city of St. Louis. It's an incredibly important role to fill, and it's important we get that right.
The lawsuit, and I think we're still going to learn a lot about the facts of the case as this case proceeds. I don't know exactly where all these breadcrumb or trails lead, but she does draw a big red circle around these private meetings that were happening between directors at SLDC, consultants on the SLDC payroll, and people who wanted a big slice of this federal money. And she seems to say that was something I was trying to warn them about.
What she says in this lawsuit is that it is something she very specifically did warn them about.
And then she was railroaded.
That's what the lawsuit states. And look, I mean, what I have seen at my time, as you mentioned before the break here, as a member of the board of directors, this was an organization that was refusing to provide even its board of directors information that I was requesting, refused to share with you conflicts of interest disclosures, and really has shown, in my opinion and my experience, a disdain for transparency.
Part of it, too, I think, is a culture thing. Now, I should note, SLDC has said they cannot comment on pending litigation. Maybe they find themselves in a bit of a trick box here. I don't know what their posture is internally, but she claims in this lawsuit that she was ridiculed after raising these concerns as the, quote, bad guy or the antagonist. And part of the people that were having these conversations, she claims, are consultants that were paid to be brought in here to kind of dole out the money.
Look, regardless of a pending lawsuit, the claims made in this are something that any agency doing their job and doing right by taxpayers and by the general public should be able to address and deny unequivocally. And if they're unable to do that, we have a big problem here.
The one other piece I want to mention is that she says basically Neil Richardson had $15 million in one program. But when he came to you and the other board members, he said, we have $14 million to spend here. And she suggests there was $1 million, and I'm going to use the phrase missing money, but basically that money he had already decided would be spent on this consultant. And there again, when I asked him, were there any other issues outside of the North City Grant Program, all the 15 projects you had to put together? He says, no, they all went off without a hitch. I'm paraphrasing him here, but Neil Richardson just this last week told us that, look, we had all this money, this flood of money, and we had to go about standing up all these different programs to spend it according to the rule book. That's true, no? That it was kind of a rush to get this money out the door?
You know, I'm going to disagree. We have had this money for almost 4 years at this point. This is not a rush job. If it's it is now because we're at the 11th hour, but it didn't need to be this way. We should have been thoughtfully putting this together. SLDC should have been working on this from the jump, and that has clearly not been the case. I mean, many of the award winners, that grantees, received those funds, applied for those funds years ago. And the city is just now getting around to dealing with it. The accounting, by the way, on that $37 million program to those North City grants, there was a large chunk of that, 10%, $3.7 million allocated to administering those funds. And as far as I'm concerned, a full accounting of those funds, the funds awarded to SLDC to administer those funds, has not been fully or adequately accounted for, in my opinion.
And when you think about the decision, you've been close to City Hall for a long time. In the short time we have left here,
I work there.
Where?
At City Hall. You said I've been close to City Hall for some time. I'm just
you've been close to the operate. Yeah, I didn't catch it there. The decision to bring in consultants, is it necessary? It sometimes looks like it's frustrating because they're not subject to transparency laws. And are they necessary, or does the city have everyone they need to be able to do the jobs themselves?
Really, we should have, in the case of ARPA funds, I can see where the need for consultants exists, because we're getting a large slug of money, we're dealing with it in a very finite amount of time. But the reality is, you're right, they should have to adhere to all the same levels of transparency that government officials should. These are government funds, these are taxpayer funds, and same transparency should apply.
I wish we had more time, but we'll hear from you soon, I hope, on the campaign trail, if not at City Hall. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime.